text, we can get to the fun part, having the text animate. One of the simplest animations is a fade up or a fade out. I have two separate layers. If I select the Ms. layer, the Ms. becomes highlighted and I could make changes and animate Ms. If I select Masuda, Masuda will highlight and I can animate Masuda. To have Masuda fade up, I'm going to change the opacity attribute. With the layer selected, I hit T on the keyboard and that brings up opacity. I need to click on the stopwatch to initiate a keyframe. Click, and here is my very first keyframe at 0 seconds. I'm going to change the opacity to 0, and I could either use the slider or I could type in 0. And then I have to move the playhead, and at 3 seconds, I want the opacity to be 100%. I can either select the Add keyframe, or if I simply change the value to 100%, it adds a second keyframe. Now, if I want to watch the animation, here's a little shortcut for you. I'm going to change my work area right now so it only plays this little area. I hit the home key, and you'll notice that it's fading up, and that will loop. I've changed the work area to only display 3.5 seconds. Now, if I want to change how long that animation takes, I can simply move a keyframe. I can say, I want this to be 5 seconds. And now when I hit play, you'll notice that the fade up takes a little longer. Now there are other attributes that you may want to change, such as scale. And to make it simpler to see right now, I'm going to change the opacity to 100, and I'm going to just I'm going to delete those keyframes. And now, with the layer selected, I'm going to hit S on the keyboard, and that will initiate my scale attribute. Again, I click on the stopwatch to initiate my first keyframe. And here, I'm going to set the value to be 0. Or I'm just going to type in 0, will be a little quicker. And it looks like it's disappeared because the scale is 0, you can't see it. I'm going to move the playhead, and here again at 3 seconds, I'm going to have it scale up to 100. And if I want to play that, I hit the space bar, and it's scaling up. And if you notice where it's scaling from, it's scaling from the bottom left-hand corner. And that's because that's where my anchor point is. If I wanted it to scale up from the center, I have to change my anchor point. To change the anchor point, I go up to the Pan Behind tool, select it, and I'm going to grab the anchor point, and I'm going to put it in the center. And now when it scales up, it's scaling up from the center. And if I want that scale up to take longer or shorter, I simply move the second keyframe. Now it would take place in 2 seconds or 3, wherever you set the second key point. Now, I'm going to get rid of my scale, and this time, actually I have to make my scale 100 so that I can fully see it. And this time, what I'm going to do is I'm going to change position. And with my layer selected, I'm going to hit P on the keyboard, and that's position. I'm going to initiate my keyframe. And at the beginning, I'm going to make sure I'm on the selection tool and move it off outside the frame. Move my playhead. And then move my position, which is all based on coordinates. Now when I play that, it's going to slide in. Simple as that. If I want it to take longer, again, I move the distance between the 2 keyframes. Now, I have animated only Masuda. I can use my Pickwick to parent Ms. to Masuda. And now, whatever I've applied to one layer will apply to the other. And you'll notice what happened here. They're both sliding in at the same time, and I've changed the anchor point for both. That is simple opacity, fade up, scale, and position.